Hello again everyone, UtakataJ6 back again with version 0.5 of MediateCraft. The most important things that were added in this version, besides infrastructure as always, as I continue to build up towards the releasable version 1, that was a long sentence, were recipes involving heat. So the first of these is recipes that convert chunks of different things into ingots that are actually useful. So should you ever come across an elemental form or a chunk of a certain metal, rest assured you will most likely be able to turn it into an ingot. So, we have alkali metal chunks become alkali ingots. Toxic metal chunks become toxic metal ingots. Elemental aluminum becomes an aluminum ingot. Elemental lead becomes a lead ingot, as we saw in a previous video. And elemental silver becomes a silver ingot. Also, should you ever happen across elemental iron or gold, you can also put that into a furnace and get the ingots that can be worked back into tools and such from them. These are fairly simple recipes, of course. Notice there's no alkaline metal ingot, you simply use the chunks to build alkaline materials. There's no terribly specific reason for that. Also remember, notice older amber. This is what the alternate drop for coal ore can be used as a substitute to create these metals. And finally, notice platinum has a bit of a baby blue tint to it. This will help you separate that ore if you ever should come across its ore underground. Lead ingots and silver ingots. So that's the first group of heat-based recipes. We'll go ahead and make sure we get to show all of them. And if we attend just a moment here. Next up, if we put a lead ingot back into the furnace, we will actually melt it down into an even further melted form, molten lead. And molten lead is useful because it can be used to craft tinted glass. Tinted glass, like any form of glass, tinted glass should be able to be substituted for any of the regular glass recipes, such as we can see here, this glass bottle. And if we put it in the world, we can see through it. Somewhat. It's tinted. I may work on a different texture for this in the future, but it's been around quite a while. Another recent change that seems to be somewhat behind the scenes, I can't even find them, is the addition of this item called glass shards. Glass shards are dropped whenever you destroy regular glass blocks now. And glass shards you can simply put straight back into the furnace and smelt them into the block glass. Finally, notice that the other two types of glass added by MediateCraft, the unobtainable uranium glass and quartz, may also be used just like the tinted glass in any glass recipes, and they should also be dropping glass shards, although there are some slight variations in the glass. Third, for those of you who've been going around smashing up the rocks that generate in the world, in the rock cycle, some of you may have come across... Oh, look at this. This is new. The screw. Archimedes screw. How interesting. Right. Some of you will have come across different ball-type items. One of them is feldspar clay. Another is lime mud. Another is kaolin clay, although I'm not exactly sure where it's hiding at the moment. See if we can't track it down. Interesting. Perhaps I didn't actually add it back to the creative menu. That would be a bit of a pity. At any rate, feldspar clay will have many uses in Mediate further on, but for right now you can treat it exactly as you would treat any clay, smelting it into a brick. Also, the system for bread has changed. You can no longer simply craft wheat into bread. First of all, you must grind your wheat up into flour, Flour Child's item, in the millstone. And once you have flour, you then combine that flour with water, and that will get you dough. Finally, place dough into either your furnace or your stewing pots, and you'll get bread. This, again, it's a bit of a nuisance, but it reflects the real-world system in one of those areas which I felt it was almost ridiculously necessary. So that's the new system for baking bread. You put your dough in the furnace, basically. Two other small heat-based recipes before I move on to the really important stuff are very easy. You notice here there are two different types of phosphorus. If you ever come across the white elemental phosphorus and you would like red, you simply put it in the furnace and that'll change phases. And likewise, selenium, wherever it's hiding, there's the red and there's the gray. If you ever come across the elemental version and you would like the next version, simply put it in the furnace and you'll get the next version. That should take care of all the regular smelting recipes in MediateCraft. However, there are a few extra ones still to note. There are cauldron recipes. I mentioned before, if you... Let's get out a cauldron so I can demonstrate this more effectively. Cauldron, I mean stewing pot. There we go. If you had a stewing pot that was all fired up and ready to go, you put any sapling into the stewing pot and it will render into the cork item that is currently used in the fishing pot and will be used for other things in the future. Additionally, you can work a little bit with the glass and sand. You can create silicon, the element, by putting either glass shards or the block of sand in there. And then silicon, then you have an element of silicon, which can be useful for various points in the future of MediateCraft. Finally, let me talk about the new ores that have been introduced in MediateCraft. If you look through the creative menu, it seems like I've done a ridiculous amount of ores, which is completely deceptive, believe me. There are also recipes that can only be completed in the Crucible. These are the 6 ores that you will find in MediateCraft, the only 6 you really need to worry about. Bauxite renders or becomes in the Crucible aluminum. Galena corresponds to lead. Silver, of course, corresponds to silver ingots. Arsenopyrite corresponds to arsenic. Platinum corresponds to platinum, and platinum is the rarest simple ore in MediateCraft. And sphalerite corresponds to lead. You'll quickly get used to these 6, because even if it does seem like there is an insane amount of world generation in MediateCraft, again, remember, all of it can be mostly ignored. You can just keep a few simple things in mind. Now, once again, I'd like to bring up the point that these 6 ores are not only available in world generation. I do have a backup method, a very convincing backup method, for how one is going to obtain each of these ores. And that is not actually currently implemented into the game. However, like I said, we're only building up towards the initial releases, so there's no need to worry about it. Finally, one last correction. In one of the previous videos, I listed the 3 toxic metal chunks as arsenic, selenium, and lead. It's actually arsenic, antimony, and lead. However, again, right at this stage in the game, there is essentially no need to worry about any of those things at the moment. Finally, remember, the Crucible is also the only place where you can complete one of the phases of the rock cycle, turning solid sediments, such as sandstone, into metamorphic rocks, such as quartz, or limestone into marble, or conglomerate into gneiss, or eventually shale into slate. That should conclude all the changes that were introduced in MediateCraft version 0.5. Thanks for watching, and join me next time.